Good morning, class and children. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, and as per your routine, you have English paper 2 or English literature to continue our classes. So, to talk about our textbook treasure trove, in which we have collection of poems and short stories. It is a very happy news that we have brought an end of all the 10 poems we have in the syllabus. And regarding stories, out of 10 stories we have in the syllabus, we have completed 9 of the stories. That means we are left with only 1 to go now, right? So after we complete the last chapter we are left with in this textbook, then we'll switch on to the Merchant of Venice, right? But before we take up today's last chapter through online class, I would like to tell you something very important, that many of you are not viewing the tutorial classes as provided to you through hard work and efforts used by all the teachers, all the subject teachers. I do say to all of you that God knows when the school is going to reopen, but when it gets reopened, we perhaps will be left with limited time with us to complete the remaining portions we have in the syllabus. So whatever chapters are taught and completed, those are already done. Make sure that those chapters are already provided to you, explained, and even given question answers or notes of those completed chapters, which indicates that those chapters are done chapters. So there is no question of the chapters being repeated when the school gets reopened, because the remaining chapters are to be dealt with. So I would like to say you that whenever the tutorial videos are provided to you, please view them, go through them, try to understand. If you have unclear portions where you are not able to understand, you can quote them and then ask your doubts. Those will be cleared, those will be explained again, right? So when the time is there, please carry on with your studies and revise all those taught chapters and prepare those question answers and make ready yourself, right? Now let us come back to our content and see which is the last chapter that we are remained with. The last chapter that we are remained with is chapter number 8 in the story section, that is the Blue Bead, written by Nora Blue, right? So this is a beautiful chapter to bring an end to our story portion as well. So coming to our author, Nora Brooke, she was born on 2nd August in the year 1907 in Bidford, England. She was a well-known English novelist and non-fiction writer, famous for her descriptions of life in India during the 20th century. When she was a child, she was here in India when India was under the British governance. Her father was the forest officer in India. Her father, George Brooke, was the forest officer in India. So she happened to come to India, and she spent her early childhood days in the Indian forest, traveling through on elephant's back. That is why she is very close to know the Indian nooks and corners regarding forest. So she has very beautifully given the clear picture of the Indian life in the last story we are remained with, the Blue Bead, right? So in the story we will see a girl named Sylvia, who is just 12 years old, and she is the protagonist of this story. So what happens in her life, and there is a suspense in this story, and it contains a dramatic irony towards the end of the story. So what is this dramatic irony, or what is the suspense in this story? So let's try to find out in the story. So here we go. The Blue Bead, written by Nora Brooke. The great author Nora Brooke is the author of the story The Blue Bead. So here bead. Bead is a gemstone, like, which is used in the decoration materials, like ornaments. So basically it is on the female side, right, who are using earrings, nose ring, finger rings, necklaces, right? So in which we find the beads, right? So the story is about the bead, which is blue in color. So what is this bead about? Who finds it? Let us try to understand in this story now. The Blue Bead, written by Nora Brooke. So see, from deep water came the crocodile. The opening of this story is of the descriptions of a crocodile, right? So you all know, right? Crocodile is a reptile and is a very dangerous creature, right? And we see the story opens. From deep water came the crocodile. So crocodiles do live in water, right? Out of black water, curved with whirlpools, right? Whirlpools means where there is circular movements of water. When anybody gets into it, it's very difficult to come out of it. You will be dragged inside, and then the life is taken. So see, and into the frill of gold shallows. Frill means decorations of gold shallows by the stepping stones. So there are stepping stones in the river, and in this river where there are stones and the color of the water is also black, and in which there are crocodiles, is very difficult to understand whether it is a crocodile or stone. And once unknowingly, if you step into it, telling it that is a stone, that you are stepping on it, right? And unluckily it turns out to be a crocodile, then it's very difficult for you to come out of it, right? So see, he was twice the length. So he refers to crocodile. Crocodile was twice the length of a tall man, right? A tall man, you can assume 6 feet. Twice the length of it is twice the length of him is 12 feet, you can say, right? So look at the size of this crocodile, okay, from head to the tail end. And inside him, among the stones which he had swallowed to aid digestion, rolled a silver bracelet. Right, now see, so where the crocodile is, right, it is very dangerous for anybody to be nearby, because, right, crocodiles are not lovable creatures that many of you would like to handle with your hands, right? It's very risky. Okay, so see, timber was being floated now. Timber means wood, right? So when the wood flows down in the water or in the river, this great Indian river from forest further up, and there were slippers lying stuck around the stones. So slippers are the crocodiles, right? So in the river where the timber, the wood, log floats down from the higher places to lower, right? There are slippers, there are crocodiles which are lying stuck around the stones until someone came to dislodge them. So until someone came to remove these logs, remove these timber, right? Because this timber can be used as firewood in many of the houses, and send them on their way, or until floods lifted them and jostled them along. The crocodile had no need to hide himself, right? So crocodile need to hide itself, because it knows how dangerous it is, right? He came to rest in the glassy shallows. Sometimes the water do come. Sometimes the crocodile do come and do take rest on the river banks among logs, and balance them there on tiptoe on the rippled sand. With only his raised eyes out of the water, and look at the way how it lies inside the water. It only takes out the little portion of the head, right, where it carries eyes, right, and it's very very difficult for anybody to know, right, uh, what is what, right. You can't distinguish between the timber line at the side in the water which is stuck on the stone, or the crocodile, or the stone there, right. Very difficult to recognize it, know it. And raise nostrils breathing the clean sunny air, and it only takes out the nose on the head just to take air, just to breathe, right. So the crocodiles are very tricky in the water, right. It's very difficult for us to know exactly whether it is a stone, or is a timber lying stuck on the stone, or is it a crocodile. So see, around him broad sparkling water travel between cliffs. Cliffs means a steep rock, the rock which is very very steep, slanting, and grass and forested hills. So just at the banks of this river there is a steep rock, or there are rocks, and there are hills, right, forested hills. A jungle track came out of scrub east side. So on east side of the river there are the jungle tracks, which is all grassy scrub, and down to the sun whitened stepping stones on which a little flycatcher is a bird which flies around there, was flirting. Flirting means teasing, and trimming along and revolving along. So there is a water bird, the flycatcher, that catches the fly, right, and would be flying here and there in this river water. The mugger crocodile, blackish brown above and yellowy white under, lay motionless. So the mugger crocodile, which has darkened, blackened, right, at the back, and right on the stomach, it is yellowy white. It is white but little bit yellowish in color. It lay motionless, without any movement, right. It stays there, right, without visiting, without moving, able to wait forever till food came, and it remains in the same position, right, in the motionless position, right, until the food comes into its mouth, right. So see how tricky is the crocodile, right. This antediluvian saurian, that means is very old, right, large reptile. This prehistoric juggernaut, ferocious and formidable. So this is a prehistoric creature, right. It's a large transport vehicle like, right, ferocious, very very deadly, very dangerous, and formidable, and very strong as well. When the crocodiles are in the water, right, it is very very strong. A vast force in the water, propel means revolved, by the unimaginable and irresistible power of the huge tail, lay lapped by ripples. So look at the tail portion of this crocodile, right? It is very very dangerous. So it remains moving its tail when it swims in the water, right? A throb in its throat, and then it has a hanging, right, fleshy part on the throat, on the neck part of this crocodile. His mouth running almost the whole length of his head, and the mouth is so big that it covers the entire size of the head, was closed and fixed in that evil bony smile, and where the yellow underside came up to it, it was tinged with green. And you see then, and it has very sharp, dangerous, right, teeth, which seem to be smiling, and where the yellow underside, the stomach portion of the crocodile came up to it, it was tinged with green. So it is tinged means colored with green. So such is the description of the crocodile as given by the author Nora Brook, right, regarding crocodile. From the day perhaps 100 years old, when the sun had hatched him, hatch means produced, given birth to it in a sandbank, right? So the crocodile lays eggs on the sandbank, and then from the eggs they are hatched out. And he had broken his shell. So when the crocodile is hatched, it is hatched from the egg cell, and got his head out and looked around, ready to snap at anything before he was even fully hatched. Now look at the nature of the crocodile. As soon as it is hatched out from the egg, it tries to catch the animals for the prey, right, for the food, right. So right from his birth, when it comes out of the eggs, right, it becomes dangerous, right. From that day, when he had at once made for the water, and it goes to the water, ready to fend or for himself immediately. So here ready to fend means to support, right, for himself immediately. He had lived by his brainless craft. Craft means activities, and ferocity and brutality. Ferocity means brutality. So since the first day of his birth, the very crocodile becomes dangerous, whether it is on the sandbank or in the water. It becomes very, very dangerous. Escaping the birds of prey and the great carnivorous fishes that eat baby crocodiles. But even this dangerous creature like crocodiles, right, have to defend itself from the other animals. Like there are some birds, they are the prey birds that feed on the small baby crocodiles, and there are fishes, right, that eat the baby crocodiles, right. He had prospered, but the one that gets escapes from the attack of the birds and then the fishes, right, the very crocodile becomes huge, becomes large, catching all the food he needed, and is strong it till put it in holes. Put it means rotten it in holes in the bank, right. So what does it do? The crocodile, right, now, if it is spared by the birds and the fishes, the very crocodile grows into a very, very heavy size. It becomes dangerous at the same moment. Tepid water, that means lukewarm water, to live in, and plenty of rotted food grew him to his great length. So it lives on water, right, and it lives in water, and at the same time it feeds on, right, plenty of rotted food which it had kept at the side, right, and eating those, it becomes fully grown, right, a heavy size, big size crocodile, right. So see, so even the crocodiles will have to defend itself against, right, some other creatures like birds and fishes, right. But the crocodile that comes out victorious against this attack of the birds and the fishes, right, it grows, right, into a very dangerous size, right. Not only the size is dangerous, but the nature of the crocodile also becomes very, very ferocious, very, very dangerous. And see, now nothing could pierce the inch-thick armored hide. Now the author discusses about, right, the skin of the crocodile, right. The skin of the crocodile is very thick. Hide means skin, right. Armored means the skin that covers the crocodile's flesh, right. It's very thick. It is about an inch thick, right. Not even rifle bullets which would bounce off, and it is too thick, it is too hard, that even if you fired, right, bullets at it, the bullets will bounce back. Such is the hardness of the skin of the crocodile, right. It is very, very thick, an inch thick, right. That's why the bullet even cannot pierce the body of the crocodile. Only the eyes and the soft underarms offered a place. Now, which are the weakest part of the crocodile? Right, the weakest part of the crocodile, or parts of the crocodile, right, are, one is the eyes, and then the other, the underarms of the crocodile. These two parts are the weakest parts in the body of the crocodile. So if any person who is attacking the crocodile to kill it will have to aim at these two things, or two parts. One is the eye and the other underarm. The other parts of the body of the crocodile is very, very tough to deal with. He lived well in the river, so it lives in river, sunning himself sometimes with other crocodiles. So it comes on the bank and takes the sun bath with the other crocodiles, its friends, mates, right? Muggers, as well as the long-snouted fish-eating gharials. There are two types of crocodiles. One is a crocodile with a short mouth, and the other which is called mugger, and the other with the long mouth is called the gharial. Now see, on warm rocks and sandbanks, where the sun dried the clay on them quite white, and where they could plop off means fall into the water in a moment if allowed. Right? So see how do the gharials in the mugger crocodiles do take rest. When it is sunny uh, weather, it comes or they come right on the sandbank and they lie resting themselves, taking sunbath, right? And if they are alarmed with anything, right? If there is any slightest noise that alarms them, then they very speedily jump into water, because when the crocodile is in the water, the strength of the crocodile becomes manifold, right? It becomes very strong in water, right? So see, the big crocodile fed mostly on fish. So the big crocodiles, they do eat fish. They eat fish, but also on deer. Sometimes they attack deer and monkeys when they do come to drink water on the riverbank. That came to drink water on the riverbank. Perhaps a duck or two. Sometimes they even attack duck, or like two of the ducks when these ducks do come to swim in water. But sometimes here at the fort he fed on a pie dog. But sometimes these crocodiles, which is on the you can say where the village is nearby, sometimes this pie dog is the street dog. They go to drink water on the riverside. Yeah, the crocodiles do attack these dogs as well. Full of parasites, these dogs are full of insects. Or a skeleton cow, the cow which is bony, skinny, when it goes to drink water on the riverbank, the crocodiles are there ready to attack them. And sometimes he went down to the burning ghats and found the half-burned bodies of Indians cast into the stream. And sometimes when the crocodiles don't get anything to eat on the riverside or the riverbank, these crocodiles do go down to the burning ghat, where as per the Hindu custom the dead bodies are burnt, and whichever portion that remain unburned, they are thrown into the water, right? And the crocodiles, they eat these unburned bodies of the uh, dead people, right? This is how they survive. This is how they eat and survive. Beside him, in the souls means underwater, right? Sandbank. He lay waiting, glimmered a blue gem. So beside uh, the the crocodile, or underwater, these crocodiles do wait there, resting and waiting for the prey to catch. It was not a gem though; it was sandworm glass, right? And sometimes in the water there are gemstones, as said by the author. And see, it is not the pure gem, but what is it? So it was sandworm glass. So it is a broken glass that has uh, dipped into water and is brought down there floating. That had been rolling about in the river for a long time. So this piece of glass, which is roundish in shape, has been floating in the river for a long time. By chance, it was perforated. Perforated means pierced uh, right through the neck of a bottle, perhaps. Perhaps this is a neck of a bottle that has been floating in the river for a long time, right? When it comes and gets stuck somewhere in the river, it turns out just like a bead. It becomes a blue bead, as said, right? Now, uh, what happens thereafter? Whom do we get introduced to after we got introduced to the characteristics of the uh, crocodiles as described by the author, right? No doubt. Here we saw uh, that crocodiles are very dangerous, right? It is not so easy for any man to go and touch the body and the back of the crocodile and feel and you nurse, you love, right? It is too tough for a man to do this, right? Because the crocodiles are very dangerous, and look at the size of it, right? It is twice the size of a tall man, I said, right? And look at the teeth, right? It is so dangerous, and the skin, you saw how tough it is, right? Even the bullet cannot pierce it, right? On the two softest part that we find in the crocodiles are the eyes and the underarms, right? That's enough. And in such river where we see such crocodiles living there, right, we find beads, right? Now, who possesses it? How do we get it, right? And what does she or he do with it? We'll come to it in our next online class. Hope you understood. Stay safe and find it. Thank you.